Well, hello there. Welcome to episode 79 of Dank Times Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo Grosso. And right off the bat, I have a hot take. Paul Rudd was just named the sexiest man alive by People magazine. And although I am not going to say that he does not deserve it because Paul Rudd is a sex god, he has looked the same since the mid 90s. You may remember Paul Rudd in Clueless, where he played the stepbrother, and they end up banging in the end of the movie. And I think that's what started the step bro and step sis porn phenomenon that has swept the nation. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about Paul Rudd. He's definitely on my gay list, easily top 10 on my gay list. But is he the sexiest man alive? I think not. And I'm going to name you a few hunks that I think are, at this time, way hunkier and sexier than Paul Rudd. And I also have a sneaking suspicion Paul Rudd was named Sexiest Man Alive to promote the new Ghostbusters movie, which comes out this month. Do you see what I'm saying? A little cross promotion there. You don't think Disney, or is Disney making Ghostbusters? I don't know. Disney owns everything. So you don't think Disney has sway over People magazine? I'm sure they probably own the magazine as well. By the way, for those of you saying, is Angelo talking about being gay? What's that about? As my longtime listeners have known, I have taken multiple gay tests, and I have determined that I'm about 13% bi and 4% gay, which puts me on the pretty confident in my sexuality. However, I can get flattered every now and then, but it'll take a certain special kind of guy to get me persuadable. But I'm not here to say that persuadable will never happen. I could be persuaded. Is Paul Rudd one of the guys that could make me persuadable? Yeah, absolutely. Especially the Paul Rudd with the beard. Shit. But he hugs good from behind. Anyway, who do I think would be a sexier man than Paul Rudd? Keanu Reeves, right off the bat. Keanu Reeves has been kissed on the mouth by whatever undying God that blesses beautiful people with never aging. Halle Berry's on that list as well, where you can see them in movies that are like 30, 40 years and they look the exact same. Tom Cruise is another one. I don't know what Scientology is fucking around on Tom Cruise's face. I know that, but I don't know what's going on with Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, and Paul Rudd. I want to know what they're doing. Are they just drinking the what are the QAnon believers? They are drinking children's blood or some shit. If children's blood makes you never age, give me some of the kids that deserved it, and then I'll drink their blood. You know, they're not all good kids, is my point. There was a story I did a couple weeks ago about those two kids that were like 13 and 12, and they bought all these weapons and explosives off the black web, and they were going off the dark web. And they were going to do another school shooting. If those kids were killed and drained of blood and it would make you stay young, I would at least be open to the idea. You know, those kids deserved it. I'm kidding, folks, obviously. I would drink a juggle of that. A jug of that. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So Keanu Reeves, right off the bat, I think is sexier than Paul Rudd. I would put the guy that plays in that TV show that every woman likes. I think the show is called Her. Is it Her? It's about the stalker guy who kills women. Oh, it's a very popular Netflix show, but I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. I should have known it before I did the episode here. It's definitely not Her. Anyway, I'll move on to another guy. Ryan Reynolds. That guy can do it all. I don't know how he doesn't win it every time. Same thing with Jason Momoa. I don't know a straight woman who doesn't want Jason Momoa to do dirty, nasty things to them. Even a few lesbians would be like, you know what, just for that night, I'll be straight, you know. I mean, who else? Kamal Nanjiani, that Indian actor. I mean, he's a hunk. Now, again, we're talking about sexiness, okay? We're not talking about cute or attractive or whatever. We're talking about sexy. They have to make you feel something in your private regions, like a fireworks going off, a little tingling, you know, something's going on in the Bible Belt is what I'm talking about. So, what are we going to do about it? You start to froth at the mouth a little bit. You start to get a little water in your mouth. You start to get a little drooly, So we need to talk about who does these things to you. Who makes you revert back to your more primitive state, There's a few people that I've seen in my life, just complete strangers. I could be walking down Seattle, whatever, and I see someone and they're so hot. My immediate reaction is to get angry that they're so attractive. That's my knee-jerk reaction. I don't know if that's healthy, but then I think, oh my God, what is this? What am I feeling in my pants here? And I kind of get like this swelling feeling. And by the way, this is more often than it happens with women. There's been a few dudes I've seen that does the same thing to me. Like my penis wakes up out of its slumber. My penis is never like hibernating. It's always kind of, it's always at like DEFCON 3. It's always kind of ready to go, but it likes to take it easy. It likes to take it sleazy, as I say on this podcast. But it's ready to throw down under the right circumstances. And when I see someone like that, that's in like the 10 out of 10, your body just starts feeling warm. You start to get a little loosey in your goosey, You start to have fantasies about what life would be like living on a farm with this person, raising cattle, opening up your own dairy farm. It's a beautiful dream. Oh, and the show that I couldn't think of is called You. Jesus, it's a very popular show that I don't watch because it doesn't interest me. I've watched Dexter already, and it sounds to me like a different take on it. So, but the actor from that I know makes the ladies go wild. Penn Badgley, I don't know. Oscar Isaac. Oh my God, the things I would let Oscar Isaac do. He would definitely be in the top 5. So. Again, not shitting on Paul Rudd, but I'm sorry, man, you don't deserve it. There's better people that deserve to win it. The actor that played Shang-Chi, he's a hot hunk, and we like diversity these days. It's another white man wins it again. Where's Idris Elba? I think he's won it before, but he should win it again. Who else? I'm surprised it wasn't a trans woman. Ooh, that would have been huge. Or I guess it would be sexiest man, so it has to be a trans man. I don't know. Who would be a trans man? I don't know any famous trans man. I know a lot of famous trans women. Well, there's a bias right there. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But it is strange that I can't think of a trans man. Whatever. Who else? Oh, Chris Evans. If we're picking Marvel characters, Chris Hemsworth. Holy shit. And I don't know why people don't like him lately. Chris Pratt. I think Paul Rudd's more sexy than Chris Pratt. But yeah, I can just keep naming off people. So, not shitting on you, Paul Rudd. I've loved you for a long time, since the Clueless days, and even when you were in one of the, not Friday the 13th movies. Who's the guy with the white mask and his mother was the killer in the first one? Was it Friday the 13th or Halloween or some shit? Anyway, he was in one of those movies. And he played, actually, the main character. And then he was in Clueless, and then the rest is history. Fucking Anchorman. Oh, I mean, we're not going to go down that list. But I will say this. The new Ghostbusters movie, it looks pretty fucking lame to me. I will see it. Because, again, I'm a huge fan of Paul Rudd. But why are all these young adult movies suddenly all just ripping off Stranger Things? Because that's really what it looks like. Is Hollywood running out of ideas? I think they are. I think that's pretty much been proven for the last decade of movies. But anyway, moving on from Paul Rudd. I don't want to disrespect you, Paul, but, Mr. Rudd, I'm a huge fan of Ant-Man, but I'm sorry. I don't get the tingle in my junk as I do with Oscar Isaac. Oh, sweet mother of Christ. Oscar Isaac, he could persuade me to do many things. Oscar Isaac could come up to me and say, what gets a bad reputation around here is ISIS. Do you want to join ISIS with me? I would think for a minute, surely he's not thinking of the ISIS. Maybe there's a ISIS that's like in Hollywood or something. So then I'd ask him, what ISIS are you talking about? And he said, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. The terrorist organization. I would seriously think about it. And I would say, well, do I get to serve with you? Can we be bunkmates? He said, oh, assuredly. Yeah, I'm only asking you and like 2 other guys. And then I'd be like, no. If I'm going to join a terrorist organization like this with you, Oscar Isaac, it has to be with you and me, maybe another person, maybe, but I'd have to say yes or no. not 4 people, okay? It's either us and maybe a third. I'm open to it. That's how persuadable Oscar Isaac is to me. Anyway, moving on. All right, the main subject that I want to talk about tonight is, are we learning anything? And if we are we willing to admit what we don't know? Sadly, over the last few years, but even more so the last few weeks, I have noticed a very sad, depressing trend. People my age, millennials, let's say, are starting to sound a lot like boomers. Not on the same subjects, mind you, but just in the way that they talk, the way that they believe it's their way or the highway, stubbornness, refusal to admit, I could be wrong on this, or just saying, I don't know. I've said it once and I've said it again. I have been blessed to have friends and family amongst all political spectrums, and I will also throw in religious spectrums, sexual spectrums, it doesn't matter. People tend to like me for whatever reason. LaFonda, you're making a shit ton of racket here. Come here. Yeah, okay, chill. I'm not going to go into specifics. I just feel that this generation, my generation, we have a lucky break in a sense to be able to see history as never before. The internet allows us a glimpse into history in a way that no other generation has ever really had. Now, that's not to say everything we read online is true. In fact, I would say it's getting worse and worse and worse, and it's getting more divided into a kernel of truth that then gets misrepresented or misconstrued or just whatever. I don't know if it's deliberately more difficult, but it is getting more difficult to find sources that are unbiased, transparent, and they don't have a ulterior motive. Now, I understand the ulterior motive of wanting to make cold hard cash in a certain sense, but if you're selling yourself, your soul, your pride, your beliefs, just for the almighty dollar, you can go fuck yourself. I know you agree, LaFonda. I know. Yeah. So it pains me when I hear people my age talk about the homeless issue, for example, and they sound a lot like my parents back in the day. They see the homeless as a personal failure on the homeless individual. And when I bring up, well, you don't know this individual, you're just guessing. You see this person living on the street looking like a bum, and you just assume all these things. But why can't you just admit you don't know anything and admit that it's kind of sad that in the richest, wealthiest, most powerful country, we have such a enormous homelessness crisis? Surely that should be your first thought when you see the homeless encampments out in Seattle or Portland or San Francisco or any major metropolis city. It shouldn't be, look at these scumbags, these addicts, these losers. No. I think it's easy, and in fact it's quite lazy, to just make everything black and white, put everything in buckets. It's this way or the highway. And I understand the human brain. We like to group things together and get order. We like structure. And when certain things don't have the structure we think they deserve or need to have, we judge them, usually harshly or critically. And we tend not to have, well, I guess I shouldn't speak in broad strokes, but lately I've seen that we tend to have this reactionary, emotional reaction to things, whereas we should look at it as a whole. When I see the homelessness crisis, when I drive through Seattle, I think, well, God, I feel so bad for these people. How many of these people just need a second chance? How many of them were living paycheck to paycheck before COVID, or just before you lost your job, or before there was a medical issue or something? I think a lot of people that are quick to judge, they don't know how close they are to becoming homeless. All it takes is 1 or 2 bad months, and the mass majority of people in this country would run the risk of becoming homeless. I know I was living paycheck to paycheck for the first 15 years of my working life, and it's only since recently am I able to quote unquote live comfortably. But that's because I lucked out in a few ways. But I will always lead with my heart first. And I think that's the only way to live. So when I hear people my age making these grand assumptions, these grand generalizations, I hear it with Joe Rogan, I hear it with Donald Trump, I hear it with Barack Obama, you name it. It's almost like they look forward to the division, and they look forward to having this team versus team battle amongst whatever party lines that we've drawn in the sand, you know? I can sit down with anybody, and if they want to talk about Donald Trump for positive or negative, I will have something to say. And I'd like to think that it's not me talking about hot takes or me trying to get a shock value or shock points, you know. I can honestly say I will treat the individual that's talking to me with as much respect as I get from them. I can tell you, you know, there's been a handful of things that I can say that Donald Trump did a good job on when he was president. Now, does that mean that I'm a Trump supporter? Fuck no. I can look at you in the eyes and say there's a few things that Barack Obama did that I am not a fan of. Oh, so then you must hate Barack Obama. Absolutely not. I enjoy listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Oh, so you believe in anti-vax information and taking ivermectin and blah, blah, blah. No. I don't get my medical advice from a goddamn podcaster, UFC commentator, comedian. I get entertainment from him. And by the way, Joe Rogan is always open and upfront about what he knows and what he doesn't know. I'm not defending Joe Rogan. Who the fuck am I to defend anybody? But this thing of like, well, if you listen to Joe Rogan, then all of these things are true about you. Are you out of your mind? So this is what I'm talking about when I say, have we learned nothing? Are we just doomed to repeat the same mistakes as our grandparents and our parents, where we get divided, you learn one thing about somebody, whether it be religious, political, whatever, and you can say, well, you know what then? They voted for so-and-so. I now know everything about them. I don't need to talk to them. No. I'd rather not. I would rather just assume everything and then base all of my judgments going forward on that one person. I was talking to my old man the other day about unemployment. He feels like 60 to 70% of people on disability or unemployment are fucking over the system. And when I say, well, how do you get that in your head? Like, where are you grasping this argument from? Like, I have never heard that. Like, are you just making it up? Oh, well, I remember when you were unemployed and living at home with me, you had to go to the unemployment office and you told me that the mass majority of people in there were proudly not working. I said, oh, that's not what I said. No. There was a few loudmouths that were boasting about how long they were on unemployment. But to say everybody was is not what I said. Well, then those loudmouths are indicative of more than what did he say? They're indicative of everyone, but they're just the loudest, which he could be right. I doubt it, because I was there. I saw a lot of depressed, anxious, and poor-looking people at that unemployment office. It was me and another guy that really took it seriously. We brought our journals, our notebooks, all of our information. We took notes. We were the minorities in there, but I can't make these grand generalizations because 3 or 4 loud people in the back were, oh, I've been unemployed for 10 years. I drive an Escalade. Fuck the system. Well, you don't know these people. One of them looked like he was a Native American. So if anyone's going to fuck over the American unemployment system, I would look the other way on indigenous people more so than other people. But again, sweeping generalization based on one example that he wasn't even there for. But he's a 74-year-old man. He feels that he's lived a life that has given him much knowledge, and he can speak brazenly about things. But when I chip away and say, well, have you ever actually been to Alabama or Texas? Have you talked to those people, you know, or wherever, whatever issue he's talking about, and saying, oh, if you're from Georgia, you're against black people voting. I'm like, Jesus Christ, everybody in Georgia is against black people voting. Oh, well, most of the people there. I'm like, no, you can't say that. You have a few people running the state that are against certain kinds of voting systems that tend to hurt people of color. I will even meet you halfway and say the current state government of Georgia may be entitled to not let most people of color vote because they think they're going to lose. Does that mean they're racist? Yeah, I could say that. But is that to say, well, then all of Georgia's racist? No. But again, that's an old fuck talking. However, just this weekend, I was talking to one of my buddies. He's my age. And the things he was saying about Chinese people. And then I clarified, just because the Chinese government is doing X, Y, and Z, you have to be careful because you can't say all Chinese people are like that. But I could see that he kind of believed it. He didn't really change it, and he could have just been trying to joke around and everything. But I've heard it a lot, not just from him, but like overall from people my generation talking about the Russians, about the Chinese. And I'm just like, God almighty. We're in our 30s, but we're talking like we're boomers. Is it just human nature to make incorrect generalizations that are sexist, racist, misogynistic? I mean, you keep going down the list. I mean, are we just doomed to repeat what we've always done? Are we not progressing as a species? I mean, you look at through time. I understand why you'd want to form tight-knit groups when you're fighting off other tribes and hordes back in the day. But once you get cities and you get to have urban sprawl and you start to have the connection of the internet, I mean, we still are primitive in so many areas. And then when you try to have progress, those people that are trying to stay open-minded meet people halfway. Well, let's get the facts first before we start shooting from the hip, Those people are demonized. I've been told multiple times by Republican and Democrat friends and family that do I want to be on the right side of history? I'm like, what are you talking about? Who the fuck are you to say, are you on the right side of history? Who the fuck is writing the history books here? I certainly do not want the people to write the history books are the ones telling me what I can and cannot say based on crumbling arguments. I mean, that's ridiculous. Oh, and it's just this McCarthyism-esque, you better do what we say or you're going to get canceled or your life's going to get ruined. When I was a kid, the people that were saying what you can and cannot do tended to be evangelical, right-wing, conservative nut jobs. And now, only 20 years later or so, it's kind of shifted. There's a lot of people that are socialist left, progressive left, whatever you want to say, are now saying what you can and cannot say, making out outrageous statements, calling the police is racist or privileged. Math is racist. There was one that I heard. Gender is an idea. I mean, it's okay. I'll pretend. I will pretend with you to make you feel better. I will play along because, again, I'm all about love and compassion and understanding. I like to listen and learn more than I like to talk and judge. I like talking and judging, don't get me wrong, but I like learning. I like learning new things. But when you're going against just common sense, rationality, science, I can't support you. And I'm used to having these dialogues with older people, but now I'm having them more and more with people my age, and I can't believe it. When I talk to some of my Republican friends, they are surprised that I believe in certain things. Like, oh, I knew you were progressive. I thought you wanted to defund the police or have open borders or put Christians in concentration camps. I'm like, what are you? Are you touched? Are you Franks and Beans? What are you talking about? Where are you getting this information? So I think, oh my God. But at least my generation, there's not so much Republicans and conservatives. That's mostly older people. But I don't know if that's true anymore. I talk to my left-leaning friends, and they say things like, oh my God, you say Trump did a few things right. Yeah, you must want to speak Russian and lose a freedom. I'm like, what are you talking about? Again, I expect that kind of nonsensical thinking from older people. But we're supposed to be the empathetic generation. We're supposed to be the smartest, compassionate generation because we have all the tools at our fingertips. But we forgot along the way to have critical thinking. Do you really think that when Adam Schiff is talking about the Steele dossier. And when people say, where is the Steele dossier? Where's the evidence? And it never comes through for years. And you spend those years talking about all of the things in the dossier that just last week it turned out, you know what? All of it was mostly wrong. And it gives credence to that orange Cheeto fucker, Donald Trump, when he was talking about witch hunt. This is the biggest witch hunt in American politics. I am not a Russian asset. Vladimir Putin didn't do this. Durka. There was a lot of smoking guns, so to speak, but there was not any factual evidence. And then when you get told, well, it just makes sense, don't you think, that Trump was having money problems in the 90s, Russia bailed him out, then he didn't pay the money back, so then Russia's lording over all this money, basically blackmailing Trump, and so Trump's working with Russia. I'm like, okay, that makes a nice story for a movie. And in fact, if that came out to be true, I would be probably 5% surprised. However, it wasn't proven. Robert Mueller did the investigation. He said, you know, there was some bullshit done, but nothing that was actionable. And plus, he's a sitting president. We need more to act on. Now, I'm not to say Trump was completely scot-free off this. However, I'm saying the Steele dossier and the media and Adam Schiff and things were done in congressional commissions were created off of all this information. Now it comes out, well, shit, the Steele dossier is a big pile of shit for the most part. But again, are the people that went along with this for years, are they going to come out and say, you know what, we were wrong? I was wrong. Next time we should get the facts before we start writing up news pieces, creating commissions, having talking heads go on TV. No, I'm not hearing any of that. I'm hearing people hold them to the fire, but I'm not seeing CNN or MSNBC or Adam Schiff, to his credit, when he's asked about it, he does say, I wish that I had more facts, but, you know, there were still improprieties, and he takes a couple steps forward, and then he just starts throwing up, well, you know, there was this, there was that. I'm like, okay. But the fact remains, the Steele dossier was a fucking lie. Is it as bad as the lie about the Iraq build up to the war, about the WMDs? No. And I've heard that comparison. That is not accurate. That is not true. If the Steele dossier lie led to actual deaths from our service members and we actually started a war over it, then I would tell you it's the same. But no, Colin Powell and Dick Cheney, all that bullshit, all those lies, that is by far much worse than the Steele dossier. But my point remains, that was just an example. We need to admit when we were wrong. It's okay to admit I have no fucking idea. When I'm talking about Trump and Russia collusion and all that shit, if somebody says, oh, well, didn't you hear about Durka? I'm not going to lie and say yeah or no. I'm going to say, well, I don't know. I don't remember everything from a few years ago. I don't obsess over most news stories, especially when we're obsessing over an ex-president. The Democrats need to move on. Trump is a boogeyman to Democrats only. You're not going to convince many Republican voters about the Trump boogeyman. That ploy has not worked. It only works with the people that you're going to get their votes regardless. I don't think we're learning shit. I really don't. And I was trying to think in my mind, what could we do besides making education more of a factor going forward? We need to invest in education. We need to invest in free college. We need to invest in after-school programs. We need to invest, really, what it boils down to is critical thinking skills, how to read the news correctly, how to look at sources, and how to take the emotion out of things and look at it as is. I don't think that's asking too much. I know we're a fat, lazy, capitalistic society that we have no patience for anything, and we love to get in online fights, but once we're face to face, most of us are just scared and confused and making shit up as we go along. And that's okay, that's most animals. We're not better than animals is what I'm trying to say here. Animals learn. I don't see that we are learning in this arena. We're just learning to divide more and more and more. And I wish more people were like me. And I know that sounds narcissistic and prideful, but I mean it. If I'm wrong on something, I will always admit it. Here's one that I will admit that I just had to admit this to myself yesterday. Tulsi Gabbard is a goddamn cunt now. Huge fan of Tulsi Gabbard for years, and I've noticed a trend over the last few months. She's starting to sound more right-wing, but I thought, well, maybe she's getting bad advice, whatever. But then I saw her on, was it Tucker Carlson or one of those Fox News shows, which, again, I could give a fuck that she went on Fox News. I wish more Democrats and progressives would go on Fox News. You need to talk to those people. You don't need to talk to those fucking idiots on MSNBC and CNN. You have their votes already for the most part. So I don't care that she went on Fox News. What I care about is the bullshit logic, these buzzwords. And I don't know what her end game is. Maybe she wants to join the Republican Party as an independent and then win something and then say, psych, I was a progressive all along. But now she's going against the Build Back Better America plan, which has so many progressive ideas that have overwhelmingly high support across the country. And she's against a lot of them. And when she was running for president, she was for most of those things. What changed, Tulsi, you fucking lying bitch? It's only been 2 years. Yes, the Democrats have fucked you over twice when you were running. I get that. But instead of trying to fuck them over and fuck the administration over and fuck any chance you have of getting any respect in the DNC at all, is just say, yeah, they fucked me over, but I still believe in these things. It's called character, Tulsi. You used to have it and you don't have it anymore. Her past is this. She was in a cult. I don't give a fuck. I was in a cult growing up. It was called Christianity. I left it. She did too. But again, I can admit now, I was wrong about Tulsi Gabbard. I thought her star was on the rise, and now it's come crashing back to earth, and it's landed in a quicksand of shit. So, I learned a thing or two. Don't build up people as heroes, because 9.9 times out of 10, they're not heroes. That term is thrown around a lot for just common people that do one thing heroically, and you can define them forever moving forward as a hero. I think not. I'm learning this, and I hope you guys like learning too. Because if we don't learn and we just make the same goddamn mistakes as our parents did and our previous generations did, we're going to beat each other's throats until we die. And hopefully that won't happen while I'm alive. But the way the global warming is going, I don't know. But let's move on to some happier subjects, such as the insanity that is the media coverage of the Rittenhouse, the Kyle Rittenhouse, and the Ahmaud Arbery coverages of both of those cases, because one's getting dominated by the media. Let me guess, it's the white kid with the AR-15, and what's getting no coverage is a black man who died, and it turns out the whole fucking county lied about it and tried sweeping it under the rug. But anyway, let's get into it. So first things first, unfortunately, I think that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get off. Not scot-free. I think he will still be found guilty of a few things, but he's not going to be found guilty for preempted murder or murder in the first degree, anything with murder. What I think he will be found guilty of is being a minor with an AR-15, transporting it across state lines. I hope his mother gets cited or gets arrested for something for driving a teen across state lines. I mean, the mom's a goddamn psycho. I mean, you don't become Kyle Rittenhouse with the good parents. But it sure seems to me, and I've watched not a lot, but I've watched enough of the trial to see that, first of all, the prosecution is fucked up. But it sure seems like that even though Kyle Rittenhouse went there with a weapon to instigate drama, I don't think they've proven that he went there to instigate violence. However, I understand you go there with an AR-15 and point it at angry protesters, which, let's face facts, are angry for the right reasons. And you get protesters pointing their own weapons at you or menacing you. Well, that's kind of on you, Kyle. But again, you're also a dumb fuck, probably incel white bitch kid with an AR-15. But is it self-defense? Some of the guys that were questioned sure seemed like, I saw Kyle and I got scared, so I attacked him. One guy said he swung a skateboard at him. Does that mean that you have an AR-15, you could blow people away? Absolutely not. So that's why I think Kyle Rittenhouse will be found guilty on a number of charges, but murder, manslaughter, all that is not going to stick. And I don't know if he should, because he fucked up big time. He did. Don't get me wrong. He really fucked up big time, and he needs to, he needs to learn a lesson. However, you're not going to put this kid away for 30, 40 years or the death penalty. It just ain't happening. At least I will be surprised if it happened. But this is dominating the goddamn headline. And do you know what's not? The Ahmaud Arbery case, which I feel like is a much more important case because it deals with corrupt police, a corrupt county, white people chasing down and killing, either accidentally or on purpose, an unarmed black man who, I don't know why this is important, but it's important to also call out that he was not under any drugs or alcoholic, whatever. He had nothing in his system. Like, that means anything. And I'm sorry, but the judge in the Ahmaud Arbery case sure seems like a racist pile of dog shit to me. But some of you may be asking, well, I know all about Kyle Rittenhouse, but who the fuck is Ahmaud Arbery? Well, just a quick recap here. Ahmaud Arbery was shot on February 23rd, 2020 in a confrontation with Gregory and Travis McMichael. It took more than 2 months for the men to be arrested, along with the neighbor who filmed the death, arresting the people who were driving the truck. Lawyers from Mr. Arbery's family have called his death a modern-day lynching. The McMichaels and the defense argue that they were defending themselves while trying to make a citizen's arrest. Give me a fucking break. Long story short, what happened? There was a few instances of break-ins around the area. I don't think Ahmaud Arbery had anything to do with them. However, he was seen around those areas. But again, who gives a fuck? So, what exactly happened? Mr. Arbery was out for an afternoon jog in the coastal city of Brunswick. The elder Mr. McMichael, a neighborhood resident, told police he believed Mr. Arbery resembled the suspect in a series of local break-ins. Police have said no reports were filed regarding these alleged break-ins. Oh, that's strange. The McMichaels armed themselves with a pistol and a shotgun. Great. Citizen's arrest. You're goddamn Batman and Superman, you fucking chodes. And pursued Mr. Arbery in a pickup truck through the neighborhood. Jesus Christ. According to the elder, Mr. McMichael, he and his son had said, Stop, we want to talk to you. He said Mr. Arbery then attacked his son. If a stranger with a gun is yelling at me to stop, we want to talk to you, and they come at me, I'm gonna fight. Like, my life depends on it. Because guess what? It did for Mr. Arbery here. So what's the key footage here? Why is this being a big deal? The 30-second clip filmed from a vehicle following Mr. Arbery surfaced publicly on May 5th, 2020. It shows Mr. Arbery trying to bypass a pickup truck ahead of him on the road and then struggling with a man carrying a shotgun. There is a muffled shouting and 3 gunshots are heard. A second man with a pistol who was standing in the bed of the pickup is then seen standing alongside the other armed man with the jogger no longer in view. The clip, which sparked a nationwide outcry, swiftly followed by criminal charges, was leaked at the behest of Gregory McMichael because he thought it would make him and his son look better. You dumb bastards. 5 days later, footage from a surveillance camera emerged showing a black man in a white t-shirt, believed to be Mr. Arbery, at a home construction site shortly before the shooting. Oh, well then he should have been blown away for being at a unmanned construction site. He is seen walking onto the site and looking around for a few minutes before jogging down the street. So again, not a goddamn thing. During the trial, the site's owner, Larry English, testified that the man in question had not disturbed or damaged his property during the visit. So you think, okay, this is a pretty open and shut case. Why has it taken so long? The case is currently on its 4th prosecutor. 2 local district attorneys had earlier recused themselves due to professional connections to the elder Mr. McMichael, a former police detective and private investigator. Oh, another bad apple. Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson, whose office initially handled the case, was charged in September with violating her oath of office and obstructing the arrest of the McMichaels immediately after the shooting. She is denied any wrongdoing. By the way, this happened in Georgia. The county commissioner office here have been in deep shit multiple times. If you want to see the laundry list, I implore you to look at the NPR article. They go in depth about the Georgia Police Department. that led the Arbery shooting case and how much they have a troubled past. So that's not getting nearly the headlines as a white kid in the AR-15. That's probably going to beat the rap. And I tell you, if Kyle Rittenhouse's verdict is as I think it is, and there's riots in the street, we've learned nothing. But my dream scenario is that Kyle Rittenhouse is found guilty of a number of things I talked about, and cooler heads will prevail. You'll see some pissed off people online. You may get some minor marching in the streets, but nothing major. Because I'm sorry, based on the shit that I have seen, it doesn't look like some of the harsher stuff should or will stick. And my other dream scenario is that the McMichaels are found guilty of murder and are treated as such. And just because these are white people, one of them is a former police, should not have any bearing on this. And I hope that the Arbery family sues the goddamn Georgia Police Department and the fucking county. Because that is how you get real change. But again, that's not getting the coverage. It's Kyle Rittenhouse and it's fucking Astroworld. Although there is something we said the Astroworld's not getting the coverage it really deserves, but maybe some would say it's getting too much online. These goddamn conspiracies. But who knows if some of them are true. I don't fucking know anymore. So, have we learned anything again? Kyle Rittenhouse will not be found guilty of murder, in my opinion. And is that going to spark crazy protests like we saw during the George Floyd protests? I hope not. The only thing that I will wish for is that if the McMichaels are found not guilty of murder and they're let off because of self-defense, that's when I hope there is the equivalent of George Floyd protests happening. Because that is important. That we have learned is not acceptable. We have learned there what is right and what is wrong. I hope the McMichaels are found guilty and go to jail for murder. And I hope Rittenhouse learns a lesson and maybe goes to jail for 20 years or so. I mean, his life is already ruined. You have to have a little bit of compassion for that white bitch. You have to. He was young and stupid, and he worked himself up in a frenzy, and he has bullshit, awful parents that helped him, and the rest is history. We need to look at why predominantly white young men are getting weapons so easily, and they're so goddamn angry. We need to address that. Is it because they're racist? Maybe. Or is it feel like they don't have a place in society anymore? Maybe. Or is it that he just went down the wrong rabbit hole on YouTube and discovered some bullshit conspiratorial ideas and went on a rampage? Who knows? I'll leave that up to the court system, which I don't have much faith in these days. So, are we learning anything? Or are we just making the same fucking mistakes? It's just going to be like another OJ and who was the jabroni that got beat up by the LAPD? Why can't we all just get along? Man, I'm drawing a blank. I'm not even high. Anyway, let's move on to some happier stuff. Well, apologies. There was one more story I wanted to talk about. And this is from The Hill, and also the Seattle Times did a piece on it. Washington Attorney General, I believe it's Bob Ferguson, yep. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson rejected a settlement deal, wants more than $38 billion from the drug companies. There is something more than money here at stake, and that word is, frankly, accountability. And that's what's lacking in that settlement, says Bob Ferguson, Washington State Attorney General. Monday was the first day of Washington State's trial against drug companies that played a role in driving the national opioid crisis, which I, Angelo Grosso, completely agree with. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson argued that drug companies were aware of the harms they were causing and displayed callous disregard for the affected communities. That's already been proven. Johnson & Johnson faces a separate lawsuit by Washington State that's set to go to trial in 2022. So my man Bob Ferguson ain't fucking around. These companies knew what would happen, says Bob Ferguson, if they failed to meet their duties. We know they were aware of the harms flowing from their conduct because in private correspondence, company executives mocked individuals suffering the painful effects of opioid dependence. They displayed a callous disregard for the communities and people who bear the impact of their greed. God damn right, Bob Ferguson. So, if I were you, I would follow this story. It's not getting a lot of coverage. I wonder why. Could it be the pharmaceutical company controls a lot of shit? Is it that Johnson & Johnson is making vaccines and that they're getting sued right now? Anyway, again, I'm not going down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but sometimes, when there's smoke, there's fire, motherfucker. What else is going on here? Oh, what's going on with me personally? Over the weekend, it was one of my best friends' birthdays. I don't really remember how old he was turning. Either 33 or 32 or 34. One of those fucking weird-ass numbers. And boy, did your boy go ham. Now, for those of you that don't know, ham means hard as a motherfucker. A motherfucker is one word. Now, I don't drink as much these days because me and my friend Mary Jane have just worked out a really nice balance together. And when I drink a little too much, I get bloated, I get indigestion, I get sweaty, I get hungover in the mornings, I have runny poo-poo in the morning. It's just not a pretty sight these days. That's if I overdo it. I can have maybe 2 or 3 cocktails, and that's really about it. If I'm drinking wine, maybe 5 or 6 glasses of wine, because your boy can drink wine. But beer? I drink 1 or 2 beers, I am shit-faced. I do a few shots of vodka or rum or gin. I'm on all fours, mooing like a cow. So I just have to know my limits. And I thought going into this night, I will only smoke marijuana. I'm going to see if I can do it. And that's what I did for the first hour or 2. But then one of my other friends showed up with this little bottle of Jameson Stout. It's stout made in whiskey barrels. And I thought, I've had stout before. I maybe took 4 or 5 pulls on that bottle throughout the night. It fucked me up. I also had a very strong Jameson and Coke, but I was there for like 6 hours. So 2 alcoholic drinks really should not have done the damage it did, but I was donezo. No, I also was smoking like a chimney, so maybe that had something to do with it. And we really only had snacks and stuff, but my God, it was such a fun evening. I love my bros. We played poker. We talked in depth. We talked sports. We made fun of each other. We talked women. The weather was atrocious. Thankfully, he had a nice cover in the backyard where we could play poker. I don't remember playing poker. I remember I was the first one to lose, but I don't remember. So maybe that's why I was the first one out, because I don't know what I was doing. But I love it. It was such a nice get together. You don't get to do these as often as I would like to do. But what else was going on there? Oh, have you guys seen the video of DiCaprio, Leonardo DiCaprio, talking to Jeff Bezos' new girlfriend? And you could just see in her eyes when she's looking up at DiCaprio, I wish his dick was in me, not this one-eyed mongoloid billionaire bitch over here. And there was a jealousy in Jeff Bezos' one good eye, because you could see DiCaprio was like, yeah, baby, when you want to level up, if you want to talk about global warming with your boy here, come on over. Now, say what you will about DiCaprio being a predator because he doesn't date women over the age of 25. He has earned that right. Age is just a number, baby. Well, not always, but in this joke it is. God bless you, Leonardo DiCaprio. Your new movie looks dank with Jennifer Lawrence about an asteroid coming to kill everyone and how the world just doesn't seem to give a fuck because we're selfish and fat and lazy. Oh, it's such a great looking movie. I think it's called Look Up, or You Can Look Up, or What's Up. It's something to do with Up. If you type in Netflix, DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, you'll see that shit. It's got Meryl Streep. It's got Jonah Hill. It's got a bunch of big names in there. But yeah, watch the video of DiCaprio talking to Jeff Bezos' girlfriend. Oh, it's hilarious. Oh, DiCaprio. Why isn't he the sexiest man alive? He's the present-day Jack Nicholson, Robert Redford, Paul Newman. And he's funny. Him and Brad Pitt. Both are sexier than Paul Rudd. I would let DiCaprio and Brad Pitt turn me into a pig on a spigot. You know what I'm talking about? You know when a pig has the bar through it and it's turning over a fire and has the apple in its mouth? That pig would be me, and the 2 things that I'm stuck to would be Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it's a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, anyway. Woo! What else do we want to talk about here? Yeah, there was a full moon last night. I don't know if it's happening tonight, but I really like full moons. It made me think, has there ever been a movie about a gay werewolf? Because what do you associate full moons with? I associate them with werewolves. I've seen my fair share of werewolf movies, but I don't know if I've seen one. The werewolf is gay. By the way, one of my favorite movies that I have got to watch again, because I've only seen it once or twice and I was super young and it scared the bejesus out of me, was a American Werewolf in London. but it's not streaming anywhere and I got to pay for it. And I want to debate if I want to spend $4 on a fucking rental of a movie from the fucking 80s. The answer is yes, but I have to just work my way up to it. But I think a gay werewolf movie would be really timely. If you do it right, you could take a new spin on an old story. And when he's turning in, he or she, you know, I don't want to genderize a werewolf, but when they are turning to a werewolf, you can, I don't know, maybe he comes out of it with a little bit of glitter on his chest. Maybe he has some mascara. Maybe instead of growl, he just goes, yes! You know, something like that. I don't know. Or guilty after he kills somebody. You know, you have to make him kind of flamboyant, but in the right way. How funny would that be? You make a scary, scary looking werewolf. None of the CGI shit. I want practical effects. But then you make him flamboyantly gay. Hilarious. The movie writes itself. Speaking of movies, I finally watched for the first time ever Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. I think back in '83. I did not know Jamie Lee Curtis was in that movie. Holy shit. First off, the movie is amazing. I can understand why it's held in such high regard. And it's a shame that it took me this long to watch it. And it's also even more surprising when you find out that Eddie Murphy was like 19 when he was filming, 19 or 20. Crazy. That makes it even more so impressive. But Jamie Lee Curtis, good God, that she may have the best titties in business in that movie. When she took her titties out, I'm 35. I have seen probably millions and millions of titties in my life. I will remember Jamie Lee Curtis's titties from Trading Places until the day I die. Good God. I haven't seen a rack like that made me pause a movie and stare at him as I was admiring a Picasso painting. It doesn't happen these days. I've seen too many in person, too many online. It doesn't do it for me anymore. But her titties in Trading Places, good God. If I ever meet Jamie Lee Curtis, I hope it's for an autograph session, and I will have a printout or a 3D image of her and her titties, and I say, can you sign the titties? I don't think that's misogynistic or sexist. I think she'd get a kick out of it. She has to know what was going on. She has to look back and say, well, I had to do what I had to do. It was the 80s. And how could you not? Oh my God, was she gorgeous. Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis. How is she not sexiest man? Oh, it's sexiest man. That's right. Not sexiest woman. Jamie Lee Curtis looks damn fine even now. She's got to be, what, 60 or 70? Let's see. Jamie Lee Curtis age. Not Curtis age, you dumb fuck. Jamie Lee Curtis. Ugh, fucking technology. Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, how old is she? I'm going to say she's 71. She is 62. My apologies, Jamie Lee Curtis. God, she still looks good. Well, that's right. She's married to Christopher Guest, another dynamite director. But with that, Jamie Lee Curtis's titties, I think we can wrap up. I hope you all learned a lesson from this podcast. I hope you will try to stay calm, cool, and collected around Thanksgiving that's coming up. You know you're going to get into conversations with family or friends. You don't want to talk about politics or religion or whatever. But if you just let them vent, try to pick out what they actually said out of all their drama and emotion and just say, oh, you really think like that? Why is that? A lot of people don't know what to say when you kind of meet them halfway. And many people don't know what to say when you say, oh, where did you find that out? Where's the evidence of that? And just ask them cool and calm and collected. Don't ask them sarcastic, like, you believe that? Yeah, where'd you hear that shit from? Then you're asking to get punched in the face. So just treat others as you want to be treated. If you want your argument to be listened to be respected, you have to do it in turn with the person you're talking to. Even if you hate everything about their stance on an issue, you have to give them that respect because hopefully they're giving it to you. And if they're not giving you any respect and they're mocking you, making fun of you, just know you've already won. Weak people don't know how to validate their arguments. They regurgitate what they said, and if you challenge them on it, then they make fun of you, or they interrupt you, or they talk over you. If a person does that, odds are you've won the argument. Anyway, I love y'all. Take it easy and take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And yeah, like I said, treat others as you want to be treated. LaFonda, do you want to add anything to it? Well, I don't know if you guys could hear that, but she says, holla holla at your boy. All right. Love you guys. Catch you guys later.